some safety tips here at Skegness or Lincolnshire Coast in general if ever you want to come paddleboarding here. As you could see by this video, it's a very good spot to come, I think, very underrated. But there have been a lot of fatalities this year. There were quite a few the year before too, and I just thought I should give you some safety guidances because I've managed absolutely fine when I've been here. I've been coming here since 2021. I've got surf here when there's been waves, and I've also had flat paddleboarding sessions like I have today. If you do flat paddleboarding here, be prepared to fall over a lot, because that's what happened to me, which is why I couldn't really get too much of a video in. So I was obviously I had my phone out with me, but yeah, you will fall over a lot, because even on flat conditions, now if I show you now, it might not look like it's bumpy. When you look at it, you think, oh, it's nice and calm. Cleethorpes is nice and calm. You know, you go in Cleethorpes, it's quite calm. You go to Scarborough, it's quite calm. But a little tip about Skegness and Mablethorpe: don't let this appearance deceive you. I can tell you that now. You will find it's very bumpy. Whether there's waves or not, it's very bumpy. I think I've only managed one session where I've stood up flawlessly, and that was back in 2022. Every other time here, I've either been on my knees because it's bumpy, or I've fallen over a lot like I have today. You will eventually stand up. You might find a particular direction, you'll get your balance right. So when you start to turn, you might struggle. But yeah, so just be prepared. It's very bumpy, so be prepared to fall over a lot. And my biggest tip to anyone, if you're going to come paddleboarding here, is do not go too far out. You don't necessarily need to. I mean, I went a bit further today because the tide was out and there was speedboats out. I believe they're doing some sort of touring experience for punters. So I knew I wasn't alone. I knew if I was in trouble. Firstly, I had my phone with me in a protective case, so I knew I could dial 999 if I was in a bit of bother and I was getting swept away or something. And I knew there was speedboats out there, and to be fair, with the tide being out, I wasn't really as far out as I thought. So yeah, don't go too far out, especially if the current's really strong. Today the current wasn't too bad, so I went a little bit further out. But yeah, my advice to anybody is don't go too far out. Be a strong swimmer. I'm not saying the poor people, the heart-wrenching stories I've heard, I'm not saying those guys aren't strong swimmers. They probably were, but be aware of your surroundings. Again, this isn't speaking ill of them either. They probably were, but make sure you're a strong swimmer. I mean, I've been coming here for quite some time now and I've been absolutely fine, but I've obviously took note of not going too far out and basically making sure that the wind conditions are good as well. Like today it's crosswinds. The crosswinds is fine because you're being blown from one end to another. I believe onshore winds is alright as well. I can always get the two confused, offshore or onshore, but if the wind's blowing from the sea to the shore, that's okay as well, because that's pulling you in, so that's generally okay. Offshore winds, be careful. I mean, if you're surfing, offshore winds, if I've got that right, that's basically what to avoid. What I'm saying is, if you're paddleboarding, if the wind's going from the shore to the sea, that is when I would definitely think again about that, because I've done that once at Cleethorpes. Luckily I managed fine, but it was very tough. I did feel myself getting blown out, and I had to work hard to sort of not go too far out and stuff like that. So just thought I'd just let you guys know some safety tips, and the main thing is just don't go too far if you can help it, and you'll be grand. Definitely test the waters out as well. but the wind condition is very important, and also wind level. One of my most recent surf sessions here was during the charity walk. I went for a bit of a surf session after round one, and 17-mile-an-hour winds. Not the best. Yeah, the current was quite tough. So we've got a nice view of the sea now. Yeah, I think the tide was maybe coming in and going out, but yeah, check wind levels, check wind direction. As long as it's cross or blowing too short from sea, or a combination of both, that's fine. Just unless you're surfing, avoid winds blowing out to sea. For surfing, well, surfies recommend that, the wind blowing out to sea, but that's only really if there's good waves that push it back in. But any other time, if you're flat paddling, I would definitely avoid winds blowing out to sea. So surfforecast.com, there's really good guide on what the waves are going to be like. That's how I knew there was going to be no waves today. But also it tells you what the wind direction is. Most times here when I've come, I've always gauged it to be when it's crosswinds or winds blowing from sea to shore. So yeah, so safety tips. So I know I'm talking quite a bit, but I've come here since 2021 and I've had absolute blasts here in Mablethorpe, but obviously it is quite, it doesn't look it when you look at it, but it's quite tough. They're quite tough conditions when you get out there, and it does explain why there's been a lot of issues. I mean, I know that Lincolnshire Coast have got a thing with inflatables in the sea. I believe that refers to lilos. I've certainly not had any issues with my paddleboard, albeit it's an inflatable paddleboard. I've not had any issues with it, but my paddleboard that I've got is a bit more on the rigid side. It's an Aquaplanet Wingtail Surf. It's hard work for flat paddling, but anyone who's a surfer, I'd recommend it, because for white water and waves it's really good, and it handles wind conditions pretty well. So as long as you've got a strong paddleboard and as long as you're a competent paddleboarder, I don't think there'd be any issues. I've certainly not had issues when I brought mine, but you can understand why for things like lilos, if that's what they're referring to when they say no inflatables in the sea, you can understand why with the unfortunate events that happened this year and in the past. So that is why I thought I'd just share some safety tips for everybody. I've managed fine here. I've not gone too far out. I've always tested the waters. When there's big waves, I've not normally needed my paddle. I've normally just treated it like a surfboard and not bothered standing up surfing. I save that for Scarborough and Cleethorpes where it's calmer. Here, if you want to try SUP surfing and catching a wave standing up, good luck. So if you're surfing here and you're using an inflatable, you generally don't need a paddle, I don't think. I rarely use the paddle. I'll treat it like a normal surfboard. If you're flat paddling, always test the waters, always make sure that you're not going too far out, and make sure the wind direction and the wind levels are appropriate as well. I would say no more than 17 miles an hour winds. That is just my personal take, because anything above 17 I've struggled, but that may vary depending on how confident you are. So thanks for listening. I thought I'd just demonstrate with you because I definitely recommend Skegness. I definitely recommend Mablethorpe for paddleboarding. Definitely recommend it, guys. But obviously, if you do, please be careful with your paddleboard or your surfboard or windsurf, whatever you've got. Bodyboard, it's great for bodyboarding too here. Please be careful, guys. That is all I'm saying. Okay, stay safe and we're all good.